I want to talk to you about my friend Charlie Crawford. He's a 10-time NFR qualifier.
Charlie Crawford, time to just shake it out and win. Got it on him fast. Set
there
up.
We are.
Here's a day
nice
money
run.
lead. You betcha 3-8.
That's an absolute perfect run. Timing was perfect from the time the first swing is up. He's got the control. Charlie made it happen by being timed up with his horse with the steer, and being able to not just rope, but to pick that steer's head up without changing the momentum for the Heeler at all.
We know his beautiful wife, Jackie, all three of their beautiful children, the founder of the Liberty and Loyalty Foundation, which this year will exceed $1 million raised for military and first responders. I've said it 1,000 times. Charlie, it's time to rope, nod and ride, whip and spur. I want to welcome you to the Charlie Crawford Podcast. Let's ride.
Hunter Cook, we're on. Thanks for coming on, buddy.
Thanks, Chuck. I appreciate it.
Man, you've had a good winter. You and Cody Snow have got a good run together. It looks really, really good. One of the things I really wanted to talk to you about on this podcast was, you know, I've researched a bunch about you. I've seen you a lot at the jackpots, at the rodeos as you were an up-and-coming kid, and you always had a great attitude. You were always just real rock solid. And I've called all your peers and done all the research and stuff like that. I'm like, this kid really as good as he actually feels like he is, and everyone has nothing but great things to say about you, and I love that. But you came about, you know, a 3-time NFR qualifier on the heel side. First couple NFR wasn't as lucrative as a guy would want, but you got good partners pretty early. You know, you end up getting, I forgot exactly, maybe you roped with Cody Snow that year. You made the finals, and he cracked you out because someone didn't want to go out. And then you end up getting Matt Sherwood that year, 2-time world champion, made the NFR, and then got the Canadian superstar up there, Colton Schmidt, roped with him for a year, made the NFR, but wasn't just making those real lucrative NFRs where you can really, you know, buy something more or less.
Yeah.
And then the next year you end up getting with Luke Brown. And that didn't exactly just hit right off the bat. It took maybe 2 years for you guys to develop your run, then made the NFR. And then last year you end up winning second in the average and freaking knocked a home run on him. It was really cool to see where like now a guy finally got that financial hit.
Yeah, that was awesome. Like you said, it felt like it took a while to really get going, but I roped with that in 2019, the first time I made the NFR. I had 5 headers that year, I think. I roped with Bubba Buckley that winter, and then I ended up roping with Cody Snow in the spring, and then I had Sherwood the whole summer, but in between I had to pick up guys. It felt like the whole year. So then we made it, and like you said, just didn't win that much at the finals, and then the same thing the next year. But I guess the year I wrote with Sherwood, we won the Canadian title, which was pretty cool to see Sherwood. I mean, I think you had to go to 12 rodeos to make the Canadian finals, and Sherwood, I went to like 20, but Sherwood only went to 12, and he ended up coming in like reserve header of the year, and then we set the new season's earnings record up there, which I think we still have. But that was good, and then me and Colton had heck at the NFR the next year. That was COVID year. Just to make the NFR that year was
very difficult.
Yeah, because you had to go to all the podunk rodeos, and
we went back a few centuries.
Yeah,
because you just whatever. If there was a rodeo, you had to figure out how to get there. We was amateur rodeoing across the country.
Yeah. Driving 12 hours to a rodeo that paid $1,200 bucks. It was hard. But then me and Luke started roping, and you know, it was I guess we were up 2.5 years, and it was probably the greatest years I've had for us to not do as good as we did, because I learned so much. You know, Luke is still one of my best friends, and he will be forever. And the things he taught me is just as far as working hard and how to learn how to get better and going the extra mile to get better and trying new things and working on everything from how you leave the box to how you catch the steer, and just breaking it down to try to get better. And learning how to do that was amazing, and it taught me everything. He's taught me 70% of the stuff I know about rodeo today came from Luke.
Luke was my angle guy. He was the guy that, like, if my angles felt off, his angles were so good. From the time he left the corner of the box to shape up that lane to be able to know where to go as a steer, I learned so much from him, sparring with him, because his angles were perfect.
And that guy will run 100 a day like it's nothing. I would show up over there. When we first started roping, we had a couple months before we left for the summer, and I'd show up with 5 or 6 horses, and before I left, you'd end up riding them twice sometimes. And just when you got back to the house, you felt like you just got in a fight with Mike Tyson. You just lay on the couch, you were wore out. But and Luke's, he's just a warrior.
He is.
He has no quit, no lay down, no give up in him. And then we left that summer, that first year, and Luke won second at the American that year, and it counted. So I only had like $5,000 won, but he was pretty well in the hunt. And we left over the 4th, and we won $1,200 over the 4th that year. We won second in the second round at St. Paul. That was it, or something like that. And one of the things he taught me too, as far as working hard, is so we had a terrible 4th, and it's like the Estes Park week, I think. That's like the week after. And he said, hey, we're gonna doctor this week, and we're gonna come home. We're gonna work on some stuff because there's only 2 rodeos that week, I think. So we doctored, came home, and Al Bach was at the house at 8:00 the next morning, and we rope all day. Al Bach watches every run. We're drawing lines in the sand. We're breaking it down.
Those are some fun breakdown sessions when Big Al shows up. He's the philosopher. He's the godfather.
Yep. So from the time we leave Colorado till we get back to Luke's house, when we get there that morning, there's steers that showed up from somewhere. The chute's ready. The arena's ready, and we're roping. And we did that for that whole week. And then, all right, we're ready. We fired back out, and we started doing better. Luke ended up, I think he was 16th in the world that year. I was further down, but we gave ourselves a chance. But just learning, sometimes you need to back off, go work on something, go back out there. That's one thing I learned that year. And then
having eyes too, like when you're able to have Big Al out there, you got to think like on the heel side, what could a steer do on the back end? If you're trying to heel a steer, what could a steer possibly do that Big Al ain't seen?
Absolutely.
There's not a handle that guy has not seen. And the breakdown and he's, well, I call him the philosopher, is you can see what he says. And that is so hard to articulate, to where when he's speaking, you can almost see what he's talking about, to where it gives you such a good visual of almost knowing where to be and be able to get ahead of that hop and find it. I'm a huge fan of Big Al. And
the other thing I love about Al when he's helping you is he's extremely honest.
Yeah.
He's not sugarcoating anything. If he tells you to something he wants you to work on and you don't do it, or it's not right, he tells you, not in a bad way, but
in a productive way.
Yeah, in a productive way, and helps you get better and by doing that. But we work like that. Then the next year we roped the whole year.
That was the thing is that's what I told Luke when he was on the podcast is, then you guys don't make it the next year. And for Luke, he was in a spot that I haven't seen him. Like, he dropped so many ranks at the end of the year, and I haven't seen him there since the early 2000s. And that's when most partners switch, because if there's something out of the ordinary, then usually it's because something doesn't work. The chemistry is not there or something. But you guys didn't quit. What do you got, into 25th, 26th in the world or something along the lines of that? 32nd. And then continue the next year in 2023 and continue roping.
So the next year was the golden year. That was my favorite year. And that sounds crazy saying that because we did so bad. But the reason it was my favorite is because we worked hard. I'm telling you, Chuck, hard. The hardest I've ever worked at team roping. And I thought I always
in
worked
what way?
Hard. So that winter, we basically got together and we said, all right, we're breaking this thing down to nothing, and we're starting from the box. And we're going to break it down all the way to the end of the run, and we're going to get better. And we did that. From how we left the box, we had lanes we were trying to stay in on and trying to manipulate the steer certain ways, and tried holding the steer in this lane, or tried letting the steer do whatever he wants, or, all right, Hunter, you get a little further down the arena here and see if the way I pull him or Luke would work on his lanes on, okay, I'm going to send my horse wider. I'm going to send my horse just every way you can think about doing things. And we made hundreds of runs a day just working on that. And learned so much about ourselves, about how we ride our horses, how we rodeo. Just I learned tremendous amount about getting better just through that year. And we ended up finishing 32nd, and me and Luke were driving on our way home from San Bernardino or Poway, and Luke was just driving, and he looks over at me and he says, well, I don't want to rope with anybody else. And I said, me neither. And that was the end of it. We knew we were roping again the next year. That's how that conversation went. And
That's awesome.
But that year was really fun as far as the work we put in that winter. And to the outside world looking in, like you're saying, if you look at the standings that year and you go, well, 32nd in the world, they didn't make it the year before. I mean, that team's probably done. But the way we viewed it is we put all this time and all this work in. We're this close,
right?
Where everybody else thinks we're this far away. We knew we were right on the edge of doing what we wanted to do.
Have you ever seen that meme on social media where the guy's digging for gold?
Yeah.
Digging for gold. And then he quits, and he was literally just one more shovel pitch away from hitting it. That happens a lot. Mm. And a lot of times the guys just kind of feel like maybe there's some different personalities, because you got to deal with egos, team roping and stuff like that, setting your ways. And then sometimes too, like the run just doesn't feel good. And maybe the other person's setting his way, the other person's setting his way. But when a guy finds that mold where you get along personally, you find that mold to where you feel like your styles fit, you just haven't found it yet. And both of you feel like that we're that close and you're on the same page. It is amazing what a guy can do, because you guys were literally just out there running routes.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a quarterback and a wide receiver. How do we figure out how to get this ball in his hands with no defender close to be able to get first downs and score touchdowns?
Yep.
And that's what you guys are out there drawing pictures in the sand, and I love it. I've been out there with Chad before, not the amount of time, because the corner was what confused me the most. The stick and cross. The hard part about the stick and cross is you can't manipulate the steer where you want it to go, because the stick and cross, you're telling your left hand to go to the right, but you're leaning to the left. You're basically telling the horse to go
left and right.
Left and right, yeah. And then to be able to manipulate the steer and put the feet where you want it, that was one of the things and then me and Chad would be out there. That poor guy, he would just get so frustrated. I mean, we'd flatten the sand out again and draw it again. And it was fun, though. It was some of the best memories I've ever had.
It was awesome.
So you've had some good partners early, because when I was heading, what I was looking for in a heeler, first, got to throw fast, man. If you're going to hang with me, you've got to throw fast. I can't get a second, third hop guy. I don't head fast enough. So if I can manipulate him and be able to give you that first shot, which I thought was fit more my style anyway, that I wanted a guy up and around and hungry back there. I don't give a shit if you get flagged out for crossfire. Like, that was my motto. Like, when they asked me to come and they said, hey, we're going to try to redo the crossfire rule, I think in 2021 after I retired. I said, I don't know if you guys want me. If the judges are like, what do you mean? Why not? We wanted your perspective. I said, because I like a guy throwing fast. So I'm probably not the best guy here for you. I said, I want someone to fire it. But you had that. You had good horses. You had good speed. You had around there good. You had a great attitude. Like, Logan, same way. Like when I roped with Joseph, same way, just being able to get around that corner and find that shot. Like, that's what I was looking for in a heeler. But like, for where you've been at on the healing side of things, how do you think you got in front of the good headers? What was your blueprint to be able to get seen and out there? Because there's a lot of kids that heel really good, but they're not able to show off. They might be roping with someone that doesn't let them do what they can do to be able to prove to those guys that, hey, I can hang. I just need a shot. How did you get in front of those guys where you got that opportunity?
Well, I did a lot of losing for a long time. When I lived in Vernon, when I was a 9+ or so, Austin Robertson would have those opens on Tuesday every week, and then he'd have a 16 afterwards. Well, I would go and rope in the open with a 7, enter twice with 2 guys I knew I wasn't going to be able to compete with, just to be seen. And then I would try to get my money back in the 16 and I'd go home. And sometimes that worked out great and sometimes not. But there was about a year and a half there where I just lost, just so those guys could see me. And it was hard. I mean, financially, very hard. Hard mentally, just because you're out there battling, knowing that it's slim to none chance you're going to win something. But I also knew that I couldn't just sit at the house and expect Cody Snow to call me and be like, hey, you want a rope? Or Luke to call me and say, hey, you want a rope? You know, because he'd never seen me before. But if I could go to those ropings and try my best to keep my money together, you know, by entering the 16 or 15 afterwards, try to get your money back, but go to those opens and let them guys see that I'm trying, that I have a pretty good horse, that I can catch 2 feet fast, and just try to be seen. I think that's what got me the first chance for sure from Bubba Buckaloo or, you know, any of them guys that first gave me a chance. I think that's what helped the most. And then I always told myself, you know, just from observing the other really good healers, if you have a good horse, you always have a job. It seemed like you said, you know, you roped with Joseph, you roped with Logan, you've roped with guys that had outstanding heel horses, and it just makes you feel that much better about your team when you do have a good heel horse. And then for a guy like me wanting a chance, I probably have a better chance of getting a chance if I have a really good heel horse. So financially, that was hard too, though, because, you know, you're just this kid that's not even rodeoing yet, and you're out there trying to find a great horse, you know.
Needle in the haystack.
It's hard, and you got to, you know, I had to work at the sale barn on Wednesdays and work for my dad. My dad's a hay farmer, and do everything I could to put money together to enter those open ropings and then to try to find the best horse I could find. But that's kind of the way I went about it.
That's a good outlook. It really is. You know, I always told a lot of them young kids too is, you know, take the runs, take the partners that you have. And if you have a good attitude, even when you're losing, the winners see that.
Yeah.
If you have a good attitude, even though, and you're not cussing your partner, and you know that maybe you're the strongest link in the chain, but if you have a good attitude about it, the winners see that. Mm-hmm. But I also recommend them too is try to find as many pick and draws as you could, especially the open ropings. Mm-hmm. If you can, like, that's why my military event's a pick and draw. Mm-hmm. That way those guys have a chance, you know, the guys that are going to the amateur rodeos, the guys who are looking for a chance, they have a chance to draw driggers. Mm-hmm. You know, because when you get behind driggers, you start seeing guys that have the ability back there that just need to be able to have that chance.
Absolutely.
Because that's what the headers need to be studying, is how does those headers make it to where all those healers look the same? Because there's something to it. When they throw that ball and it hits them right between the numbers, it's hard to drop it.
Absolutely.
And that's what Driggers does a good job of. But I think the pick and draws is where you get a chance to, for one, find out where you're at. Because if you want to, and in my opinion, this is where the assassins are at. You know, you want to hang with the killers. This is where we're at. This is where I shouldn't say we. I'm not there no more. But like, this is where they're at. The opportunity is here in Texas. Now it's also in Arizona, and you know, you got guys that come from a lot of different spots, but they usually all come right here in the winter because this is where the opportunity is.
Absolutely.
And this is where you get a chance to see where you're at. You know, when you draw some of them top guys, you know, you get a chance to see, okay, where's my heeling at? And then where's his partner at? Are we kind of on the same page because of the handle, or is he in a different spot than I am? And maybe that's what's holding me back. So that's a really good outlook.
You get to observe all those runs, and you're getting to watch. And like, even me, I grew up in Vernon, which is 2 hours and 45 minutes from here. But in 2019, I came here just for the reasons you're talking about. You know, I get to go to Paul Eves' house and watch him rope and rope with him, or I could go to Driggers and watch him, or I can go to Jade's, watch him. I can go.
This is where the assassins are at.
I'm seeing them every week.
Yeah.
I'm seeing them compete every week. And just watching and soaking all that in does way better for me than me being
gone.
Just in Vernon, 2 hours and 45 minutes away. You're thinking, man, you should just stay there. But I knew to get where I wanted, you have to be soaking all that in and watching that. And like you said, you get to see where am I at compared to that. You know.
Yeah, it's a good way to compare and see and learn and grow, I think. But one of the things that, like I said, I knew your guys' story. I've known Luke. He's been one of my good friends for the longest time. He's one of the greatest guys out there. Him and Chad both. I love them to death, like brothers. And I knew that when you guys stuck it out, and I knew when you guys did good at the NFR, to see that financial hit for you, and just we did it. We did it. But then to come back a few months later and do it again. You end up winning 5th in the world last year after you won 2nd in the average. So it got you in to the American.
Mhm.
Both of you guys were 5th. So they take the top 5 into the American to go straight to like, they have the qualifying rounds to get qualified for the American.
Yep.
You guys were the assassins sitting there ready to take their money. So you already skipped all that because you guys are the guys. And then to be able to watch and see like, all right, I got the video here. I got the second round. We're going to watch that one later. But then to be able to, on the biggest stage in the world, win the biggest rodeo in the world, the American.
That was pretty fun.
That was a good shot.
That was pretty fun.
Now, what heel horse is that?
That's Casino. He's 17. Paul Leaves originally had him and rode him for a couple years, and then he sold him to Madison Bumgardner. And me and the baseball player. Yep. Me and Madison have gotten to be good enough friends that when he decided to sell him, he called me, and I had that Palomino horse that Jake Miner rides now.
Okay.
And I ended up selling that horse to buy Casino, and he's been a blessing. He's just the old warrior that knows. He's kind of like Luke. That horse is. He knows what every start is before you get to the rodeo.
Yeah, that does help. That does help. And so when you made the American, all the rest of the guys come in from the bottom to come meet where the killers are at.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're there, what do they start with? Do they start with the top 10? And then does it go to 4? It changes every year. So how does it work? How many steers did you run?
I ran 2.
2.
So they took 5 from the qualifier and 5 from the world standings last
10.
year. Mm-hmm. And then,
so you rope 1.
Yep. And then
10 guys rope 1. And then the final 4. Final 4 come back for all the money.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And so what callback did you guys come in? Because they didn't air it, and I already knew who won it, so I didn't go back a week later.
We were
watch it.
First out.
So you were first out. So you guys won 4th in the final in the top 10. You come back 4th in the so you guys put the heat on them. Mm-hmm. So you guys were first out in the final 4.
And we were first out in the 10-man too.
So you guys scraped from
because the way they did it is 5th in the world, 5th in the qualifier, 4th in the world, 4th in the qualifier, all the way through 10. And then so we were first out, and then
you guys had to fight from the bottom the whole time. Mm-hmm. Which is not easy to do because you don't have the advantage of being able to see what kind of run we put on. You guys go put your run and see if it gets beat.
Yeah.
And
the steers were fresh this year too, so it was kind of
it didn't look as fast.
No.
So that was why then the steers were fresher because they looked stronger too.
They had 3 runs, and we put it on them. We put the runs on them the day before.
Because I watched Luke's run on social media, and when he got out, it looks like the steer's almost going faster than his horse.
Mm-hmm.
You know, where last year you watched Driggs, like there was some gain.
Yeah.
You know, you watched Gain when he was throwing right there at the line. You know, he had some gain where the steer was coming to him. Mm-hmm. When I watched you guys rope, when Luke was feeding right there, that steer was still trying to get away, which makes it hard to heel because they're strong on the end of it.
Yeah.
So that's why the times weren't as fast this year as they were last year then.
Yeah. It didn't feel like you could just bully the steer. There was kind of a freestyle feeling. And Luke told me before that day, he was like, 4-second runs are going to be good this year. And he's like, we're not going to have to be 4-1. You know, he already knew that.
That's where knowledge.
Fresh steers.
That's what's nice about having knowledge.
Yeah. He's like, they're not going to start. They're going to be kind of loose out there. He said 2 4-second runs.
That's why I think, like as a young wide receiver, having Tom Brady at the realm.
Oh, man.
You know what I mean? Because they've been in so many different situations. Luke's been in every setup there is in the world. He knows cattle. He knows what things have a tendency of doing it because you can't pay for experience.
No.
You just gotta, there's nothing that replaces experience. And that guy knows how to win. So that had to help so much being having confidence. But also too is like, also being able to win one of the most prestigious rodeos in the world with one of the guys you grinded the hardest with. That had to be such a great feeling. Because I watched you guys' victory lap on the Ranger, man. It was cool. It was so cool. I was so happy for both of you guys because I knew how hard you guys worked.
Mm-hmm. It was awesome. And it just goes back to, for me with Luke, it's just all goes back to how hard you prepare. And that's something that I'll learn and take with me forever. Even just like getting ready for the NFR that year. I'd never gotten ready for the NFR with Luke. Finally get the opportunity. October 30th.
I can't wait to hear this story.
he calls me. I go over to his house. We set the arena up. We have tape measures. We have plywood. We have banners. We have it. As good as we could set the arena up with what we had, we did it. And to the boxes to a T, the corner to a T.
The only thing he doesn't do is paint the arena yellow.
That's the only thing.
I'm surprised he doesn't even do that.
The only thing he let me do is I said, hey, Luke, for the left fence, let's use hay bales this year. And he's like, perfect. So that way we could have that solid wall. And then
because I remember when I went and roped with him, he would put round bales on the left side.
Yeah.
And, just that country boy that he is, like, we're going to make this work. We'll just measure it and put these hay bales right here.
Yep. And November 1st, we had big Mexican steers. No, he said, November 1st, we're starting. And we did every day from then till we left. And that was fun. Mm-hmm. That was a lot of fun.
Is that not the funnest thing in the world, getting ready for the NFR?
Getting to make that run over and over and over again. And I had so much confidence going there just because of that. We'd already made that run a million times, it felt like.
Yeah.
And we struggled early, but, Luke, the best part about Luke, I roped a leg on the first two, and then Luke missed the third one. So, it would have been pretty easy to just throw your sucker in the dirt and call that a wash. And Luke kept saying, he said, top 5.
Mm-hmm.
We're leaving top 5. He kept saying that over and every night. I roped a leg on the first one. Just trust it. Top 5. I roped a leg on the second one. We're all right. Top 5. He kept saying it over and over. I'd be dang if we don't leave top 5. He just
speak it into fruition.
Oh my goodness, it's crazy.
I love it. Well, now you're roping with Cody Snow, and your guys' run looks tight. It looks good. It looks natural for both of you. Man, that win you had at Tucson,
mm-hmm.
like that's what I mean. Like he hits the barrier, rope goes on tight. You know where that steer's going first hop, and done.
Yep.
Like your guys' run looks good. Like you're right
mm-hmm.
there squared off where the steer's gonna be.
Yeah,
that had to be a good win right there for the winter for you guys, especially getting ready to go outside. In the springtime and summertime, and your guys' outside run looks real good.
Thanks, Chuck. That's one. Me and Cody are a new team, but it doesn't feel like it because we've roped for a long time, second partners, third partners. Before I roped with Luke and I needed somewhere to practice, I roped over there with him a lot. So I think that's why our run's pretty good. For I guess 5 years now, we've roped pretty consistently throughout the year, jackpot partners and practice partners. So I think that's why it feels pretty good. But a lot of the stuff that I learned from Luke practicing, I put into play with me and Cody as far as, because Cody's probably one of the most talented headers, I think.
He's a great jockey. He can ride a head horse.
He can ride.
Really good.
His head loops are amazing.
Tight. Yep.
He works on handling the steer a lot, so he's really good at handling the steer, but I've tried to bring to the table what I've learned from Luke as far as how we prepare. If we're going to San Antonio, we don't need to be running them to the bottom and doing this. We need to be, working on that run in front of the chute. Or if we're getting ready for the BFI, how do we what do we need our horses to do and what do we need to do to be successful there? And just learning the stuff I learned and trying to put that into play with me and Cody's run to make it a successful run too.
And then, so you guys go from indoors to outdoors
mm-hmm.
when you go to Tucson. Everything else is indoors. Do you have to change ropes at all? Like when things are inside, do you change ropes when you go inside to outside, weather pending, or maybe even like the size of cattle? Like, is there a certain rope that you choose or a certain lay that feels better?
So I know a lot of people that do, but for me personally, I practice every day with a hard medium power line. If I'm roping little steers, I use a hard medium power line. If I'm roping the biggest steers ever, I use a hard medium power line. It's just,
so yours stays the same.
I just use one rope, and when early in my career, I would change a little bit. From winter time to summertime, I might use a XR4 in the winter, and then I would use a power line in the summer. But I got away from that. Like I watched. Paul Leaves and Junior and Jade, they have one rope, and that's Wesley Thorpe. They have one rope, and that's what they use all the time. And I've kind of leaned more towards that the last couple of years.
Those are guys that dang sure would be good ones to follow.
Absolutely.
So this dang shot you have over here in the second round at San Antonio. So if anyone listening, if you want to see a heel shot, I don't care what kind of heel rope you use right here. What's your heel rope?
Hard medium power line.
Yeah, don't try this with a hard medium power line. This ain't for everybody right here. So Hunter Cook 355 on social media on his Instagram page. Watch his run that him and Cody Snow make at San Antonio in the second round. Watch this ridiculous heel shot. What?
Oh, man.
What?
Oh, man.
Cody hooks him tight, and did he pull your pants down,
He
or
did.
what happened?
He did.
Because when that steer turns, your horse is not even on the right side of that steer's hip. He hit it for the hot dog stand, and the steer's hit it for the beer stand. And you threw on the left hand side about a foot left of his eyeball, of the horse's eyeball.
Jeez.
And dang, you spurred yourself in the butt right there. Almost spurred yourself out of the kennel. Got back around and got on the right-hand side of his neck and got dallied.
Golly.
What?
That wasn't my proudest run, but...
That'd have been mine. That's Dennis Gates stuff right there. That's pulling some shot. If I'm going to say the heel shot of the year, I think you've already got it won.
Oh, man.
That was so rank right there. Talk about that run.
So... Casino, that was his first or second steer back since the NFR. He strained a suspensory, so I didn't get to prepare him or nothing. And that horse, you have to prepare him by making him pay attention to the cow, because he's just kind of a patterned horse. You got to put some cow in him and make him pay attention. Well, that steer's running so hard, and I'm gassing him down the arena, and he hasn't had many steers run on him since December.
He looked
and when the head rope went
distracted.
on, the steer was legal, it felt like. But a couple people have asked me, like, what did you think right there? And I said, the only way I know how to explain it is I could see the steer, and I knew I was in time, and I was willing to live with the consequences, whether I missed or caught. So
that was a heel shot.
Well,
everyone watch that one. That's not for everybody.
I did that a lot when I was a kid.
It didn't look accidental.
Yeah, well,
it did not look accidental.
I've rode a lot of junkie horses in my life, and when I was young, I've made that shot more than people. I don't like to do it anymore because
you don't have to.
It's not what a professional healer should do.
But sometimes that's the one thing I remember watching. One time I told Luke about it, I think, is when I decided to move up here from Llano. Because I moved to Llano because that's where everyone's at. And then when I moved to Llano, then everyone came up here. So I moved up here. And I was watching a practice session with Driggers, Jade, Paul Eves, and Archie Rogers. And they bought like 25 head of steers. And they're out there at Chad's. And they're literally roping. The header was coming from the heel box. The healer was coming from the head box. They just crisscross. And then Paul and Jade they were like playing pig. Now you got to rope on the left-hand side of your horse's neck. And then the last one was, I think the header had to turn the steer in the middle of the arena, and the healer came from the catch pin. And they had a rope coming up underneath there. And I'm like, and my whole time I'm thinking, like, they're ruining their horses. They're ruining their steers. Like, I have that old mindset, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Well, then I see Jade where a steer stops, and he did what you just did, leaning out over the top of that heel horse's head and got 2 feet. And I'm like, he literally practiced that. You don't always practice for perfection. Every once in a while, you got to practice for things that could happen. Now, you obviously don't want to do that on your good horses.
Yeah.
But there's horses that a guy could kind of get where you can work on that street ball. You can work on making them shots, and you can tell you've already went through that. That was a heel shot.
Well, thanks, Chuck. I tell people all the time, too, I'm like, heeling is the closest thing to professional golf, because the way I think of heeling is you got about 10 clubs in the bag, and you got to hit 4 or 5 different shots with each club.
Absolutely.
So it's every now and then, like you said, it's got to be a little freestyle.
The end of it just right. Perfect.
Yeah.
All right. Now what happens when he runs around the end of it? Now what happens when he's strong? Now when he sucks up underneath there, when he drops, shovel hops, there's a lot of irons that you have to have in your bag.
Absolutely.
So here's me heeling this weekend. And my horse is...
I watched this.
Well, he's not very fast.
I seen you got a whip off.
I did. Well, I thought he could run faster. And he wouldn't. And so I'm trying to get after him. I was trying to get your shot at San Antonio, but I couldn't get high enough.
You were a little inside on that.
I was a little inside.
But you still got him. I like the dally.
Some suck back.
The dally.
Some good suck back right there.
You put his feet together.
I was trying to get my Hunter Cook at San Antonio, but I couldn't get high enough.
Needed a little faster horse.
The sad part is I was watching that steer go all weekend, and he's just trotting. And Little Pickle's my buddy. This is my second clinic he's come with. He's like 7 or 8 years old. He's a cute little kid from over there in Kentucky. And we just keep him on the trotter because he wants to stick and move. I'm like, no. You need to stick. You need to get it under control first, get a good dally, and then turn off. You know, like every boy at that age is.
Yeah.
You know, he's watching. I said, a little bit too much time watching the Cowboy Channel.
Exactly.
Let's watch a few more horse fraternities. And I kept watching this steer. I'm like, and then no one got in there with him. And I'm like, I'll get it. Steer's just trotting. Sure. I'm telling you what, that steer's trot is way faster than it looked.
Bigger strides.
And that there were some clods in the arena, and I don't know how I didn't bust an ankle or pull a quad.
I would have fell down, so you did good.
It was funny. But yeah, your guys' run looks real good. I'm real excited to see how your guys' year goes. So you guys are not going to California, which for me is very surprising. Mainly because Cody Snow is from California, and most guys from California, man, that's like in their contract almost. You know, we're going to California. I don't care if I live here or not. We're going back where I came from. And you guys are not. And it surprised me when you said that. But then I talked to a bunch of other guys. A lot of guys are not going out west this spring. What's up with that?
Well, for me and Cody, it was a collective decision. We both love those rodeos and feel very confident that we would do good out there. So it's nothing against the rodeos, but there's a couple different factors. You know, I'm married now, and he's getting married, and it'd be nice to be home with our wives for an extra month. But the main reason is we wanted to hone in on our summer run, and the only way we could do that is have that extra time to practice at the house, you know, where we feel like we've both could improve and both could get better. And what you know, Chuck, most of the money's won in the summer. You know, a lot of the money's won in the summer. So if we could hone in on that run, you know, seeing front leg and being 4 consistently and catching a lot of steers and making sure our horses are scoring, making sure I'm setting the steer up the way I'm supposed to, making sure my horses are, you know, getting down the arena, but also watching the cow and coming through the corner where I have a good shot every time, doing all those little things for that extra month, you know, because now we'll be home for 2.5 months before we leave. That time, I think, will pay off, and we'll see. I mean, that's our plan.
It's a good plan. It worked for T-Wade and Thorpe last year. Yep. I think that kind of caught on in a way. I remember when I was out there rodeoing, we'd go out west. I always called it spring training. That's kind of where we went to where we kind of see what's our run feel like, you know, come Reno time, you know, because you get back outside again, the cattle are strong and fresh, you know, your start's out there. You get to kind of see like where our run is. So when we come back home for a little bit, we can tighten back up and get back after it. But I do like the fact because I think there's still so many things going on here in Texas that you don't have to go out there. There's still the U.S. finals. I see now where you're doing some fraternities. What do you think the fraternities is doing for your horsemanship? Because I seen the other day, I think at the Houston, was the American Rope Horse Fraternity one in Houston?
Yes, sir.
And 4 out of your 5 horses that you rode made the short round? So not only can you heel fast, now you're learning about horses. You're turning into a deadly sumbitch back there. I like it. I like it.
Yeah, that is my retirement plan. You know, I've always wanted to make a living with a rope, and I love the horse aspect of it. And I thought, when the fraternity started getting bigger and bigger, I thought, man, I would love to get into that and be a player in it where I could be competitive and do good. And then when I'm 50, you know, like Champ, Cleo, he can still heel great at his age. But, you know, I could still show horses at that age if I started early enough and got in with the right people. And so that's kind of my retirement plan, is the horse training world. Now, that's not my first priority by any means. Right. You know, I still want to make the NFR and give myself as many chances as I can at gold buckles, but that would be my retirement plan, is the fraternity world. So me and a good friend of mine named J.D. McGuire, we've partnered and bought a lot of great young prospects, and we've been doing the fraternity stuff, and it's been fun. I've learned a lot about myself and how to, you know, watching Joseph and watching Cade Rice and watching Dakota and all those great, you know, fraternity trainers, and watching how they do things, and then come back home and then I'll work on that. And it's been a fun process.
One of the things when I retired is I got 3 fraternity colts, and I started getting the fraternities. It was one thing I wish they would have had earlier
Mm-hmm.
due to the fact that I had some time off in 2016 when I got kicked out of the PRCA for the ERA. And I wish they would have had futurities then, because what I have learned now, for one, about my horsemanship, but for another too, is how the horse works.
Absolutely.
And now that they're actually updating, there's actually an association now updating what horses are supposed to be doing and judging off that. So to me, now you got the best horses and the best trainers. Now these horses can go somewhere. And I love that. But I learned so much of what I didn't know when I was rodeoing. Just being able to get your horse in the proper angles in the corner to make that steer hit the right direction. Keeping that horse framed across the pin at a certain angle to get the steer's head, and being able to learn how to face on a tight rope. Those were things I kind of just went through the motions on rodeoing. And the stuff that I have learned now, I was like, I wish I would have known that then, because I seen the holes in where I was at then and where I was losing money. And where you're at it early, man, I'm thinking you're in a great spot now, because the horsemanship, for one, you can rope, then to learn the horsemanship, because you already got the great attitude. Those are, to me, the three aspects of being a successful roper. But to now where you're at learning about the horsemanship, what all do you think it's been helping you as far as rodeoing and making a living roping?
It's nearly the exact same thing you just talked about. A lot of it is in the corner and, the momentum through there and keeping the momentum going instead of, before I felt like, I just got to a spot and then my horse got out of my way and I threw. And so now it's helped me with staying hooked up to the steer, staying pushing through there, and a lot of it is, getting the body parts of the horse to do what you want. The left shoulder up, the hips underneath them, learning how to keep them driving like that and set them up for a good stop, set them up for a good finish. And then that transfers in the rodeo world or the professional world, how my horses have been feeling jackpotting. Way more consistent shots, jackpotting. Because if I jackpot like I rodeo, like I did back, a couple years ago, it's hard to catch 5 in a row like that, or without getting a leg or slipping a leg. So now I can fundamentally set myself up sounder and more solid just because of the things I've learned doing to my futurity horses. And I've also brought a little bit of my style into my futurity horses as far as, I'm not going to follow them 5-6 jumps like some guys do. I kind of need them getting out of my way because I am wanting to throw. So it's like a happy medium of both worlds coming together. And so far, my futurity horses have felt really solid for their age. Like the 6-year-old, the video of Tucson, that's one of my futurity horses. He's 6. I rode him at Houston too. Did pretty good on him at Houston. He's been, putting a little bit of both worlds into him has made him feel, pretty usable and pretty solid, and it's made him grow up. I'm not putting too much pressure on him, but it's been fun. It's been fun playing with that.
Yeah, it is. Horsemanship, I always talk about a lot like the Bible.
Yeah.
It's a certain thickness of book, but it never ends because you're always getting a new horse.
Absolutely.
You're always getting a different personality, a different feel. And Jackie says it really good. She's like, it's a chess game or it's a puzzle that you're trying to figure out. And a horse that doesn't understand English to be able to help that horse understand what its job is and to be confident about what it's doing.
Absolutely.
And it's a puzzle to put together throughout the time you start it till the time it's ready to go to his first jackpot. Then after then there's another puzzle that goes on. Now, how do I keep them working and all that other stuff? But it's a book that never ends.
And it's hard to not train them like they're already solid. Like when you get onto them for something, that's one thing I had to learn is, like I can't ride him like I would have finished heel horse or get onto him like I would have, because he doesn't know yet.
I'm going through the same thing because I was so used to rodeoing so long, my horses knew better.
Yeah.
Well, now I'm on horses that don't know no better, and you have to allow mistakes and have to be in that mindset to remember that they have to be able to allow mistakes. Because if you take too much of their confidence away, then they're too much worried about what you're doing and not worried about and not understanding their job. Yeah. And there's a lot to that.
Absolutely.
I went through that phase too. Yeah, I think I think you're going to do great at it. One of the things I thought too was when I watched Joseph and Paul Eves, they buddied that year, I think in 19 and I think 20 or something like that. And I watched how much better Paul's horsemanship was getting,
Mm-hmm.
and I watched how much better Joseph's healing was getting,
Mm-hmm.
because they both had strengths and weaknesses. Paul ropes outstanding,
Mm-hmm.
and Joseph rides outstanding.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're able to get the top guys and the top ropers and kind of mesh them together,
Mm-hmm.
I think that year in 2020, Joseph went in leading the world, and then Paul won the world.
Yeah.
So you could tell,
It was amazing.
you could tell like they were feeding off each other, and because I would watch their conversations, and they were getting on each other's horses, and there's something there's a lot to that,
a lot.
and that was fun to watch.
Mm-hmm. And that's kind of what I'm talking about too, with meshing both worlds. Because I remember that year too you're talking about, and I think straight fraternity world's good and straight rodeo world's good, but if you can combine them like Joseph did and Paul, and get a little bit of the good things out of each area, I think you could build a great platform of horses that were solid, showy, but effective, and winners. I think it could be really, really, really cool.
Yeah. Are you going to the one in Ardmore?
Yes.
Is it the oil can? What do they call that?
That's the old can classic.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I got entered in that one.
You did?
Yeah, it's the first time I've competed in over a year and a half, except for my military event.
Yeah.
I still stick steers for the military and first responders at my roping, but yeah, I haven't done nothing. I'm trying to get all of this stuff that I'm trying to do outside of the arena established, and then go kind of start coming back to it. But we had a horse that Jackie and I raised. He's a gypsy, Starlight Gypsy on top and a Stoley on the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm trying to tweak a little bit with the horse, the cow side of it,
Mm-hmm.
and the run.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times I've been going to some of these fraternities and looking at the horses, and they almost look a little bit like, not to downgrade any of this. This is the last thing I ever want to say or downgrade anything, but they're almost like 14-3.
Yeah.
Almost a little bit like there have been reiners or cutters or something, or not reiners, cutters, or maybe even working cow and stuff like that. But like, they just don't look like a head horse.
Yeah.
And so this year we've been trying to. And I've had a couple of those before, and they're fun. They're great for the public. They're great for smaller steers. Awesome for smaller steers. Mm-hmm. But I wanted to get something put together where like this sucker looked like a head horse. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of where Jackie, she did the breeding on that, and she liked the Stoley Mind, and the Gypsy's got such good feet and, fast footed. So we're trying that. He's good. I don't know if he's great or not, but it's just fun to be able to get back in the game again a little bit and get back and see the guys again. Mm-hmm. But for what that does for my clinics is amazing, because I learned so much more about the horse, I learned so much more about what they're judging on and what I'm trying to be able to accomplish. Mm-hmm. And I think what the fraternities are going to do is it's going to enhance the horsemanship, I think, at the rodeos.
And the another cool thing about the fraternities that I've been learning how to peak my horse at the right time.
Yeah.
Because if you just step on the gas all the time, by the time you get to the show, it's a little dull. Or if you're not bringing them up at the right time, you're a little
ready.
green.
Yep. Yeah.
But just trying to figure out, and I'm doing it with myself too, like getting ready for a rodeo, trying to figure out how to peak myself at the right time. Because if you, same thing, if you mash on the gas every day, as far as throwing when the head turns every time, then by the time you get there, you're dull. You don't have anything. So
there's a lot to that. Absolutely.
Trying to peak yourself right before the big event.
That is really good. Because I've felt it on both for sure.
Mm-hmm. Like my 4-year-olds right now, I guess that deal's 2 weeks away? It's 3 weeks away.
Yeah, I just got sick in my stomach. Yeah, it is.
So like right now, my 4-year-old.
I better get my Coggins.
Yeah. I have a really, really good 4-year-old that I won second on him at Houston. But right now we're roping trotters.
Yeah.
We're just easing around.
Gotta go slow, man.
And then next week.
Just like in the military, crawl, walk, run. It has to be that in the horsemanship.
Absolutely.
And for beginner ropers, it's literally the same process. Mm-hmm. It really is.
Next week we'll probably make some realistic jackpot runs. And then a couple days before we might rope trotters again. And then hopefully that just peaks it at the right time.
I've been hauling mine. I took him to a clinic last week in Wichita Falls just to get him into some different spot, get him used to stalls, get him not used to seeing outside of where he's at, and then just seeing other horses, being around that stuff too. And then today I'm taking him to Ken Bray's, so we're going to go over there to an indoor arena and get used to all that different setting. And then they're at 377. There's a 1/40. It's like $100 on Wednesday.
Yep.
They're at the extreme roping, so it's $100. So same thing, be able to get a few runs in on him and get him used to some jackpot settings. So then that way it's just not just all of a sudden at once.
Just a huge
and then see if I can pay like a stock charge or whatever it is to score some at the end.
Yeah.
Then that way he went through the pressure of it, but then he can still come down.
Yeah.
That's where I think it's so hard to be able to, you've got to be able to control their emotions. Because I had the buckskin one time a couple years ago. I was taking with some of them. He was there at a 4-year-old stage. Well, then he was there at 5. Well, I didn't hardly take him anywhere in between.
Yeah.
Then he started getting a little bit nervous in the box. Then it created some issues that I had to start dealing with later. Then I had to kind of put it back together again.
Yeah.
Instead of there was better ways I could have managed his emotions through that process.
And that's pretty cool how you learned that on the buckskin horse or whatever, and now you figured out some things that you can put into play that
learn a lot through mistakes.
Yeah, absolutely.
So now that you guys are going to be home, it looks like one of the next, I think I could be skipping some steps here, but I think it looks like one of the next big rodeos is the Kid Rock's Rockin' Rodeo in May 17th here is it Arlington or AT&T?
AT&T.
That's going to be effing rank. No one's a bigger Kid Rock fan in the Western industry as me. I'm not arrogant. I don't feel like in many things, but this is one of them.
Yeah.
I know this dude, man. I've been to concerts. I watched this guy open for Aerosmith in 2002 and Yakima.
Really?
Oh, yeah. When it was raunchy. It was rank back then. And I'm just a huge fan. This dude is so good. He's such a great artist. But now he's going to have a rodeo, man. Oh, my gosh. I heard the other day that they said the PBR was trying to get him. I don't know if it's true or not. They said the PBR was trying to get him for a bull ride. And he was like, no, man, I want all the events. And I watched him on Joe Rogan and Theo Vaughn on those 2 podcasts. And he knows his stuff. Like, he doesn't talk about, the Bronco busting. No, he's like, hey, these bronc riders. And he knows the lingo. He doesn't, the last one. No, he's like, hey, these guys rope. And like, he had the lingo down. He's a fan of rodeo.
Yeah.
So that's going to be real cool to see. And you get to go to that event. What team are you on? And who's the coaches?
I'm on the low riders. My coaches are Trevor Brazil and Dale Brisby.
Nice.
So I'm pretty excited about that. They did say it's going to be like 2 arenas, a team on each arena, and then it's like yellow light, green light, go. Shoot opens, and the first team to stop the clock, I guess in each event, wins that round or whatever. So it's going to be cool. It's something that we've never seen before or done before.
That's what I'm talking about. Gosh dang, I was born too late. I should have. Either that or I can start cracking out. I'm not sure which one, but I don't think I can hang with you cats. I know I can't, but golly, that sounds fun. To me, it's important to have tradition. It really is. But then you've got to still be able to sell tickets. You still got to be able to make things exciting and expand the sport. And I truly think that dude's going to he's going to do it.
I think so. I think it's going to be great.
That's going to be fun.
Something no one's seen before in the rodeo world, and a new style of doing it. And
especially if your head horse can score. Because if it turns green, that's your head's turned.
Could get a little wild.
Yeah, there's some elements to this.
It's going to be hard not to be feeling the other team as you're going down the arena, like
the bulldog, and they better make sure that horse is standing there, because if he kicks his butt out the wrong time, he's toast.
The flaggers are going to be so nervous.
Never thought about that.
Yeah, they're going to be, just one little tenth.
So unfortunately, I do over 40 some clinics, and I schedule them so far out ahead of time. And I'd already had one scheduled, and I was this close to just canceling it or rescheduling it until something extremely important came up.
You wanted to go to the Kid Rock.
I want to go bad. I want to go real bad. And just the excitement of the way it sounds like it's going to be is going to be awesome.
Yeah.
I tell you what else, too, is not only is he like the greatest artist in the whole wide world, he's badass and all that other stuff. He is the American badass. But what he's doing for rodeoing, like, I don't think a lot of people truly understand. Like, I watched him on Joe Rogan, and he's out there. He's obviously pushing his tours, but he's pushing rodeo
big time.
And he talks well about it. And like I said, he's educated. And I think this was a lot of his idea, because he's a business guy. Yep. He's got a business mind. But when I really seen a little bit more of what he was after, when I seen him on Theo Vaughn on his podcast, and he talked about how he's going to do the concert for free. And because he's invested in this. Yeah. So this is a long-term play for Kid Rock.
Yeah.
And so also talking about the team aspect in it, because when he was talking about that about this rodeo and about the team and being invested in it like that, Theo was like, I love rodeo, man. He's like, I love rodeo. He's like, I want to have a team. And so he's getting guys interested in, like, how do you get involved with it? They got money.
Yeah.
And also too is I think Bad Boy Mowers. I think he's buddies. He said with the CEO, and so he's same thing. He's like, man, we love rodeo. Like that's our brand right there. And so like, how do we get involved with the team? So he's getting a lot of people excited about the team's side of it, but also the fact that I think a lot of people know that the Western industry is one of the last sports or events, whatever you want to call it, that are not woke.
Yeah.
You know, we stand up for our national anthem. We tip our hat. We say our prayers. USC is not woke, and neither is rodeo. And it's pushing a lot of people that are getting attracted into this because we still have our America First beliefs. Yep. And I really think what Kid Rock's doing, man,
I do too.
Is gonna take rodeo in another level in a good way.
And it's time for that. You know,
absolutely.
Them rodeos, all the big rodeos still pay the same they did 40 years ago. It seems like, you know, it's time for us to step, you know, the American guys were talking about.
Well, and what's hard is because you got to think too, is like for these rodeo committees, there's only so much money in that town. And even now with inflation, it's getting even harder to come up with the extra money in that town. Now, but because like this is where I think the PRCA is dropping the ball in more ways than one. But to be able to start having an association that's able to deal with owners and produce their own event, because what he's going to attract and the fan base he's going to bring to rodeo is going to be huge.
Huge.
The people that he's going to bring to this is going to be huge. And that's where the money's going to be, in my opinion, of where that thing can grow is instead of, you know, just always where the, you know, I think rodeo's always been relying on the committees to do all the work. Can we also go is there another level, which
Absolutely.
there is, you know? And so that's where I think it's going to be real interesting and fun to watch for me, I think. And I need to know when his next event is, because I'm not going to schedule a clinic.
You're going to be there.
You dang right. You dang right. I'm going to be ball, bang, bang, diggity. You dang right I am.
Yeah. And I think, like you said, he's invested in this, but it's pretty cool. I think they're going to pay us like $4,000 or $5,000 just to show up. You know, what rodeo do they let us do that at ever?
Yeah.
You know, when we have to drive a lot further from home to get to them, you know, this one's just right down the road.
Because this guy's an artist. You know, this guy's mind works in a different way. He's not owned. He doesn't have any sponsors. He does it himself. So his money that he makes on records is his.
That's nice.
So he can say whatever the hell he wants because he's not owned.
He's not a puppet.
So exactly right. And but he's articulate, you know, and he ideas, and, you know, he's sitting writing songs all the time and, you know, coming up with tunes. Like, your mind works in an articulate way. And you can tell this has a pretty cool articulate way on where things could go. That's going to spark more ideas and see. There might be some swing and misses, but I bet within a few years, I bet they tweak it, and I bet this thing's going to be a badass event.
I bet it is too.
So I know we've kind of talked a lot about what's going on this year, but man, I really want to hear your story. Everybody I've talked about just what a great guy you are. I mean, the respect you have amongst your peers is probably as much as anybody that I've ever talked to.
Well, thanks.
And come from Vernon, Texas. So how did you get started? You know, what created this want to rope? How did you get to roping? Who was some of your mentors? How did you get to be this superstar that you are?
Well, I come from a great family, great parents, great grandparents. Both my parents are hardworking. My dad, he's a hay farmer, and he has a cow-calf operation, and my mom's a school teacher, so it's just the good old boy lifestyle, which was fun, you know, hunting, fishing, whatever. But my dad, he played Division I football at University of North Texas, and he always he says the reason he got us into horses and stuff is he wanted us to have a different avenue if we wanted it. You know, he didn't want us to just be all set in on sports, because he said his body was just tore up. And so that's how I got into horses young. You know, I've always, you know, went to the play days and stuff. But
you said he was a football player? I'm a huge football fan.
He was a linebacker.
So he's a big, gritty son of a gun then.
Yes. He was actually, he went into college weighing 190, and his playing middle linebacker, that's not very big, but
start drinking some more milk.
He said he set an alarm on his phone every 2 hours in the middle of the night, and he'd eat a peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
I've heard about a lot of that peanut butter and the fact you're trying to get as much protein in you as you can, and you have to do it a lot.
Before the first game, he weighed 240.
Attaboy.
And he said he lifted weights 3 times a day. He'd lift weights with the team, before the team, and after the team, and he got big.
So that's where a lot of probably your discipline came from, because that's a lot of discipline.
Getting at. My dad, my dad is an animal when it comes to. If he tells you he's doing something, like he decided to quit chewing one day, he hasn't chewed since. Threw it out the window. Done. Discipline is really hardcore in my family, in a good way.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But we got into, and I wanted to be a calf roper bad. I roped calves all growing up, junior high to high school, and went to the Joe Beaver schools, and I loved it. And, but everything was self-taught, because my parents didn't rope, or they rode and stuff, but we weren't necessarily a rodeo family. So everything was self-taught, and roping calves self-taught was a nightmare,
Anybody that watched me in high school rope calves would know I would know exactly what you're talking about.
Well, there's so much technique and footwork and lift.
I didn't know you were supposed to grab the rope on the way to the calf. That's how bad I was.
You just ran to him.
My dad told me, he says, it'd be better, bud, if you just went ahead and put your pocket knife in your mouth and your picking string in your pocket. I cut like 4 ropes, got hung up. My horse got hung up. There's a lot to that roping calves, self-made. That's for dang sure. I'm with you.
But when I got to high school, I started. There's an older man named Gary Jacobs that lives down the road, and when Rich Skelton went to college in Vernon, and he lived in this guy's basement when he went to college there. So Gary Jacobs, he trains racehorses, and when I got into high school, he lived right down the road from the high school, and he said, "Hey, if you'll gallop my racehorses for me, we'll team rope afterwards." So having someone that I could rope around and actually learn what the heck I'm doing, I was all in. So after school every day, I'd go gallop 3 or 4 head of racehorses, and then we'd rope till it got dark, and we did that over and over. And I just fell in love with the fact of roping and knowing how to get better now at it. That was, because it's not like I'm just roping and wasting my time anymore. I'm actually, all right, you need to do this, and then I could do it. And then you need to do this, and then I could do it, and start building and building. So it was 2013, I guess, when I really started team roping, and it felt I was in love. Like that's the only thing I want to do. I quit football, quit basketball, quit everything, sold calf horses.
What'd you play in football? Were you a linebacker too?
Cornerback.
Corner.
I was too small to play linebacker, which it was fun. I looking back now, I think it would have been fun just to keep playing, and then there's another part of me that's like, no, I like.
It was hard for me too, because I loved football, but all the camps were in the summer during the rodeos, and it was hard to stay with the team and put in the effort that they want out of you to be able to hold them starting spots when a guy does love to rope.
Like, I needed to be in there watching film. I needed to be, working out with varsity and doing all the stuff to get bigger and better. And I just, all my chips were in. Once I started figuring out how to learn how to heel, all my chips were invested.
Did you heal? You healed from the start, or did you head much?
No, never headed much. Still haven't headed that much. But in 2013, I got my first card. I was a 3, and then I told somebody.
What year was it?
2013.
2013. So you were number 3 in 2013.
Mm-hmm. And then I started in school. We had computers in front of all of us, and they had them GoPro videos of Drew Stu healing, and I would watch those the whole time, because I could see him time the steer up and how he was doing it, and then I would take that to the practice pen that evening.
The visuals.
I'm a real visual learner.
Yeah.
Like I can see it better than someone can explain it to me. But so I could time a steer up as a 3 just because I watched so many of those videos, and when I could do that, then my number just went skyrocketed. I went to college in Vernon for 2 years. That way.
So did you high school rodeo? Did you rope in high school quite a bit?
I high school rodeoed with a girl named Sadie Hereford.
Was it all 4 years?
All 4 years.
What Hayden told me?
Mm-hmm. All 4 years I roped with her. Wanted to rope with my brother, but my dad was like, nope, you make a commitment to rope with somebody, you rope with them. So
that's where your word came from. Yep. And what I mean by that is that, your word means something.
Yep.
And in this day and age, I almost have to explain that, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Because there was once upon a time when you shook someone's hand and looked them in the eye, and what you said is what you're going to do.
Yep.
And so that came from your mom and dad. And so when you said you're going to rope with her, that's That's what it was till you're done.
Yep, because my brother, he's 2 years behind me. So when I was a junior, he was a freshman, and I was like, Dad, I want to rope with my brother. He's like, nope. You said you're going to rope with her. You're roping with her till the end of it. And that's the end of it. Yes, sir. So I roped with her all 4 years, and then I went to college. And
so what was your number? What was your number through high school? Because I thought I heard there was a time right there when you kind of cracked out, and then all of a sudden you got it.
So
was it out of high school?
My freshman year, I was a 3. And then my freshman year of college, I was a 6+. But by the second month of my freshman semester at college, I was an 8+. So there was a big jump there. But at Vernon, at the college I went to, there, Chad Smith was the rodeo coach there, and he's a really good horseman. He was like a 9 heeler. He was the rodeo coach there. So we had donkey stakes, steers, dummies, people to pull the dummy for us. Like, it was a great team roping opportunity.
Great team roping environment.
So if I wasn't in class, I was roping the donkey or whatever. And I roped in probably, 6-7 hours a day, just because there were so many tools I could utilize.
Those are good tools. Those are good heeling tools.
Absolutely.
Did you have goats?
A little bit. In high school I did. But I haven't roped a goat much since then. But I know a lot of people that do, that say it's great.
It seems to me the timing of it, because, man, if you can ever get through that stage of finding the timing of a goat, man, your timing could be good. But
like the Tryon kids
seems
and Nikki Northcott.
Right. But it also seems, too, to where then, okay, now is your swing and your timing and your feel of your heel rope correct to when you get to the cattle. So it's probably a little bit of a give and take a little bit, but I would think having that opportunity a little bit would really enhance.
That's what I liked about
the ability to find timing without having to wear your horse and your cattle out.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that would be really good too. I like the donkey. The donkey was on a big stake, and he was old, so he couldn't get to running real fast, but you could feel the stride of your horse and the jumps of the donkey, and he was big enough you could heel him with a heel rope. It was pretty realistic.
Yeah.
And so then I went from that to an 8+ fast, and then Classic burnt down, and I was buying Classic ropes because I believe that Classic is the best heel rope ever made. And I honestly struggled for a little bit until they came back, and I don't want to blame it on the rope. It's not the rope's fault, but it was
a certain feel.
It was different, I struggled for a little bit, and then when Classic came back, I started roping with Billy Bob Brown. I got out of college. The next year I roped with Billy Bob Brown, and I rodeoed went to all the winter rodeos I could, which I wasn't in the buildings or anything. And then we rodeoed that summer from Reno till Dodge City. And then just to get my feet wet a little bit. And we made that was when the All-American Finals was going on at Waco or whatever. And we made the All-American Finals, and then that next winter me and Billy Bob won the All-American Finals, which that was like 9,500 to start the year, which put me in all the buildings the next year and everything. And that's when I wrote Bubba, and then that's when 2019 happened, and I made the NFR.
Started walking that ladder.
Yeah, but a lot of
how much of those tools do you feel like that you had in college between the heeling dummies, probably a goat, or, say throw a goat in there as in your arsenal as well with the donkey. If you were able to go back and like structure someone's roping, what tools do you think you would have to be the successful heeler that a guy needs to be?
Well, looking back at myself, in my opinion, I was fully invested on, sacrificing lots of things to put roping in place of it. As far as hanging out, as far as going fishing, going to do this, going out to eat with friends. I felt like all the tools, I guess what I should say is no matter what tools you have, if you can utilize all of them to the max, you'll be shocked at how fast you can climb the ladder. But
one of the ways is what you're saying, to climb the ladder, you better be willing to get rid of some distractions.
Absolutely.
Because you got to be focused in. Because the amount of focus that heeling needs to have happen between getting up there and getting time with your horse and then getting the corner set up and then getting time with the steer. focus is freaking key. So hungover
and even
all that other stuff, girls, all that other stuff, those are distractions. Is what you're saying. You honed it in, and we're going to figure out healing.
Yeah. And even from now to then, so now I'm still very focused and dedicated and disciplined, but there's more distractions now even than there was then, just because, I have other obligations as far as my fraternity horses, my wife, and I'm grateful for all of it. But back then, nothing else mattered as far as, if I was not in the classroom, we were roping something.
So what do you think those tools, if you could structure a set of tools, what would they be?
Oh man, the you mean as far as just roping? Or?
Yeah, when you go out there in your little sandbox in your arena, 4-wheelers, dummies, goats, what would you have? Because the thing that's so hardest to me about heeling, in my opinion, is the header's going to run out of head horses after a while.
Absolutely.
You're going to run out of heel horses after a while. So what are some other things that a guy can do to continue to keep getting better, where you can be out there by yourself and grind when everyone else doesn't want to?
So I would say a sawhorse or a pipes, the dummy on the ground, and the smarty, and then a lead steer or a donkey or a goat. Either of the three is a great tool. But like I even got, because in Vernon there's not that many people that rope, but I even got to where I was tying head ropes together and tying them to the left fence of my arena and putting it on steers in the chute, hitting the latch and letting the left fence turn the steer. And if I missed, it was heck getting the head rope off. I'd have to heel them, hold them down.
That's where your playmaking came from.
Yeah, hold them down, get off my horse while I'm holding them down, take the head rope off, and put it on another one. But I heard Jade say something the other day that, just it's so true. He said everybody wants to know the secret, and he said the secret's been out a long time. Work your butt off and try.
Well, I think that's true. I mean, the thing that I enjoyed about these podcasts, we talked about this before, is everyone has the same foundation. We all had to work hard. We had to learn how to rope. We have to learn how to ride. You have to learn how to win. But then other than that, there's a lot of different ways on how people got to the top. And so someone else's different way is going to relate to somebody else. But you still have to have that. You got to work hard. That's a given. But you also have to learn the proper technique.
Absolutely.
You also have to have what are some tools that a guy can do? Because if you're just going to heel steers and you're relying on a header all the time, you're only going to get so many reps in.
Yeah.
Because headers only got so many horses, and you only got so many heel horses. So a guy's got to try to find those other ways that he can get creative to where you can learn how to throw that heel root correctly, learn how to find the timing, learn how to find position. So that's what I always enjoy, is like when guys get creative on how they got to the top, was what other ways did you end up finding how to heel when you didn't always have headers.
And even now, I think everybody's got so much more of an advantage to getting better, because you can watch the Cowboy Channel, you can pause, rewind, slow-mo, record it on your phone. Yep. You got X Factor, you got roping.com, you got all these things where you can watch if you wanted to, you could go on Facebook right now to Power Team Ropers and watch Clay O'Brien throw 100 loops at practice steers. Just there's so many different avenues. And for someone like me who's a visual learner, if I could have done that, that would have been awesome. I could have seen so many things. But to me, like late nights after dinner, I would rope the pipes for a long time and manipulate.
Did you rope it on the ground, or were you trying to get to the same height as what you would be if you were on your horse?
I've done it every way you can do it. I've done it actually made a barrel stand and put a saddle on it and roped it like that. I've roped it walking up to it. I've roped it. I liked walking up to it because I could manipulate different corners. I could run by, so to say, a couple. I could get way inside. I could get tight. I could get far away.
Practice for anything that could happen.
I could play with it a lot. But you can do the same thing on the lead steer and the donkey. You can set yourself up in different corners, different scenarios, on the gain, on separation, you can practice a million different scenarios by yourself without a header, without, don't have to have the best horse to practice that on. You can get on a piece of junk colt that's barely steering around. Or your
girlfriend's barrel horse.
Or get on your girlfriend's barrel horse.
Yeah.
And rope
anything.
Yeah.
Whatever you can find.
And you can do all those things without having the excuse of, I don't have a header today. I don't know what I guess I can't rope. I guess I'll just hang out today. There's so many ways you can get better. And there's so many tools. Smarty makes hundreds of tools that we can use to get better. And between the extreme that hops, or the sled, or the pipes.
So you're talking about Clay Cooper earlier, and so you've gotten to know him recently. How did you first get to know him, and then how did your guys' relationship evolve from there?
Oh man, so the first time I ever talked to Champ, it was one of the years, maybe the first year or the second year me and Luke were roping. And you got to keep in mind, my parents know very little about the rodeo world or how it works or anything. So every time I called home, we weren't doing good, or I would mess up or something, So it's a point in the summer where there's a little down area. So I guess my mom emails him and tells, hey, Cleo, my son really looks up to you. She says, he's struggling a little bit right now on the road. If there any way I could get your number to send to him so he would have some, she's just trying to be a helpful mother. But it's funny she went to that extreme to do that. So I get Cleo's numbers. My mom said, here, I got Cleo Bryan's number for you. And she told me she emailed him. I was like, gosh dang, Mom, what are you doing? But I texted him that summer or whatever and told him, sorry, my mom's crazy, but and he just said, no problem. If you ever need anything, just call. And I told him, thank you, whatever. And then the next summer, Bambi Rob was helping me and Luke that summer drive and stuff. And we were leaving, I think we were leaving Caldwell or something. And I think I missed that steer. And I was a little down in the dumps at myself for missing, and Bambi being the person she is. If y'all don't know Bambi, she's just happy-go-lucky, but she's the biggest team player ever.
Best caretaker in the world.
Well, I'm driving, and she's sitting in the passenger seat, and she just hits the call button, and it's Cleo Bryan Cooper, and she's got him on speakerphone. And as soon as he answers, he's, hey, Bambi, how's it going? And she hands the phone straight to me. She's like, talk to him. So I talked to him, and before you know it, I think he said, send me some videos or whatever, and I think I sent him 48 or 68 videos, for just one after another. And it took him about 6 hours before he called me back. But
you give him some homework now.
And then after I sent him, I was like, gosh dang, I shouldn't have done that. But he was like, no, he said, thanks. I got to see what's going on now. I got to see the play. But, and then we've been, from that point on, so that was last summer in July or August time. And from that point on, he's seen every run, and we talk at least twice a week on the phone. He came to Cody's last week and watched us practice just because he was in Texas doing some schools and stuff. We're really gotten to be close friends. And even the end of last year, it came down to Sioux Falls with me and Luke making the finals. And he texted me the last night or something. He said, man, I'm nervous. He said, I feel like I'm making the NFR right now. Or it was awesome, which that was pretty cool too. This Sioux Falls deal, it came down to the last year, had to make the Final Four to make the NFR. Luke Brown just, as soon as the neck rope pops, 3-5. When before we were 6-something +5 and 7-2 clean to make it back to the next round. So we'd been slow as heck, and then just
Last
like
right
always,
time.
Luke Brown
Wins.
He says, all right, I got you, little buddy. Be ready.
I bet Champ was pretty excited after that.
That was a very cool moment, because which you've probably been in plenty of situations too, Chuck, but the building of the feelings you get when you're like, I've got to make this happen. I've rodeoed all year. It's coming down to this. This is so that not stress, but that feeling you've got.
Stress there too.
And you're just I got my AirPods in before the rodeo. I'm just trying to stay at a 5. Luke always told me, he said, either you're a 10 or a 1. He said he wanted me to always stay at a 5. That's another thing he taught me as far as
level.
Emotion wise. Because I'm a real emotional person. I can be super jacked or mad.
Well, you must be a duck because you don't look it. And what I mean by a duck is you look calm and cool on the surface. I don't know if your feet are paddling like a sunbuck on underneath or not, but you always you always seem to be pretty level, and Luke dang sure is, but that's a really good 10's high, 1's low, stay at 5. That makes a lot of sense.
Luke would preach that. And I'm not ever like that to the public, but, if we'd get in the truck at a rodeo and I messed up, I'd be pretty, I wouldn't throw a fit, but I'd be pretty mad at myself or something. And Luke's like, hey, just stay at 5 all the time. Don't get too high. Don't get too low. This rodeoing's a roller coaster. And he said, you got to ride that wave. There's going to be weeks we don't win anything, and there's going to be weeks we win 15,000. So just ride that roller coaster. So
when the champ came to rope with you the other day at your house, first of all, how much fun was that?
Oh, it was awesome.
And second, what all did you guys break down?
So me and Champ have been talking a lot here lately about preparing for new team, just how I want to go about it. What does he think? And it was before the BFI when he came last time. So we were really talking about the corner and the entry. So me and Cody made a lot of runs, on hard running steers, a little further down the arena, just kind of simulating a little bit of it. And he watched, and we talked about entry a lot and stuff I'm working on. Because as a heeler, when you're going that far down the arena at that high rate of speed and then the cow turns, it's hard. A lot of times you find yourself coming in early or cutting the corner or a touch late, and then you're not getting there until the second hop. So we talked a lot about I was telling him that sometimes it feels like I'm hitting it early or late. So he was saying we were working on, you can be coming in early, but you got to stay on the outside hip. So instead of, coming in early and going inside, if you accidentally come in early, that's fine, but just push to this outside hip to where the steer still stay around the corner, I guess you'd say, because it's impossible to hit it perfect every time, but you got to know what to do when you don't hit it right, where to go to make it end up being, because healing's all an illusion. People say Jade Corkle just does the same thing every time. No, he doesn't. It's all different stuff, but it looks like he's hitting it perfect every time because he knows where to go on certain situations and where to be. And that's where I'm trying to get to. I really want to become a better jackpotter. I feel like my rodeo natural instincts is really good, but I want to be more dominant at the jackpots. And I think that all comes from positioning and how I set the corner up. So that's been my main focus this year. That's one of my goals I have wrote down is to be a dominant jackpotter. Because as well as anybody, Chuck, you make a living jackpotting if you do it right. You can make a living making the NFR, but the rodeoing doesn't necessarily feed your bank account. It's what you win either at the finals or jackpotting throughout the year.
Archie Keeney, he told me something when I was in college. He said, Charlie boy, he said, you need to learn the difference between making money and making a living. He said, basically, kind of the way it explained it was, when you're rodeoing and you're winning, you're making a living. You're paying your phone bills, you're paying your truck payments, trying to get ahead of your vet bills, at least staying them somewhat level. You can kind of keep afloat, but your money is made at your jackpots, your big BFI jackpots, the Lone Star shootouts, the NFRs, that's where you're making enough money there to where now you can buy a new horse. Now you can buy some land or a trade. Like you can pay things off because it's a lump sum. You can create assets. Yeah. There's a lot to that.
And the main thing that I've learned is it's not just winning first either. If you won 5th or better at all the major ropings, you'd have a great year. You'd have $100,000+ jackpot year. And that's another thing Luke taught me is he would always say, I'm going to rope to get through the roping. And if we draw good enough to win it, we're going to win it. But if not, we're going to win something.
Right.
And that's something that stuck out to me and I've tried to implement into my game because my reactions are just too aggressive sometimes. Like people make fun of me by saying I'm like a border collie. I just want to go all the time. So training my brain and stuff to work is see the good shot, take the good shot, sure shot them, and I'm trying to mix it with aggression and that. Because I don't want to be too catchy. Because like you said, you want to rope with the guy that's trying to help you win something. But also realizing when the shot's not right or when it's too aggressive, because my brain,
like Kenny Rogers says, no one to hold him and no one to fold him.
The problem with me is my brain tells me I can catch no matter what. And
that's your
I'm not
youth, which is great. No, that is,
yeah.
It takes a lot to that. And because I've seen so many young healers too get so mad at themselves because they missed, and I'm like, there was not a shot there.
Yeah.
There was not a hop there.
Yeah.
You know, that steer rabbit hopped around there. There was no way to get in time, because when you threw, you were in time, but then you changed the hop.
Mm-hmm.
You know, knowing what you can control and what you can't.
Mm-hmm.
But there's so much wisdom as what you're trying to do now is like, what I've heard too is like one of the things that was hardest for me was always trying to make it happen. It's always trying to make it happen. Then when you learn how to let it happen, it's so much different.
Like clockwork.
Yeah.
Well, and it's like not trying to be arrogant by saying that my brain tells me I can always catch, but when I would practice, I could pull off crazy shots a lot. I might miss a couple though too. So to retrain my brain is I'm not going to allow myself to even attempt those shots, just so I can train my brain that, hey, that's not a good hop. One more, catch him, you know.
And knowing when to use that.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you're going to a one-header, and I guess they're up to 15 monies now, and you draw a runner, it doesn't make crap if you just go catch him, because you're not going to win nothing.
No.
So you just as well go ahead and try to pull that shot off.
Yep.
I loved what Thorpe told me last week. He says, hard money's hard. Know how to get the easy money.
Absolutely.
But
he's the best in the world at it.
That was I told him, I said, I want that on a T-shirt, or at least on one of your autograph pads, and sign it, because that was the coolest thing, because the hard money is your one-hitters. That's that hard money. You've got to be able to be okay with missing to try to make money.
Yep.
Unless, say, fifth is a 6-5.
Yep.
Then, okay, now what you're saying, now how do I not pull off that shot and be patient for it and let it happen and go get that easy money? There's a lot, then that comes with wisdom. That's a lot of, you know, that's where Luke Brown, you know, he didn't always make those wise decisions at first either. You know, that comes with that experience that you're looking for, especially only being 26. You know, you're only 26 years old, so you are still going through that process.
Yeah. And one of my goals last year was, and Luke would always tell me how great Martin Lucero was at that. And he said he was the best at knowing what he's got to do to win X amount of dollars. Whether it's, you know, hey, fifth place is whatever, I'll go one more swing, sure shot him, and I'm going to win fifth.
Mm-hmm.
So one of my goals last year,
especially when fifth is like 15 or 20,000, that's still pretty good.
Yeah. One of my goals last year was be like Martin, and just because there was a lot of rodeos, me and Luke would win 8th, 9th, but it'd pay $1,500 because it was 15 monies, and there's your $1,000 a rodeo right there, and I was proud of our team, because that was stuff we didn't do the years before. You know, if Luke run one swing further, I might try a dumb shot and get no money.
Yeah. Or
if Luke hung it on one and I tried on a dumb shot and got a leg, you know, we learned all those things through previous years and last year we 8th placed the crap out of them. I mean, we'd win 18, 16, 1,500 nearly every time we showed up, and that was the difference in us making the finals that year. And it was stuff that we learned together, and that was great for me to learn, and just, you know, trying to be like Martin. And Wesley Thorpe is the best ever at it. That guy, if you put a gun to his head and tell him to catch a steer, it don't matter what the steer's doing, he'll catch him. And I'm trying to implement that into my game too. 'Cause I'm not too proud to say that that's my weak point. You know?
Well, one of the things, like I said, just watching you and so proud of what you're doing, and think that it looks like I can see from the outside looking in, because I mean, I'm basically a Monday morning quarterback now. I watch from the sidelines, but you can tell that the reason why you're successful is also why you're going to continue to be successful. Mm-hmm. You know, learn how to throw fast. You got to have that. You really do. Now, how do you know when to hold them, know when to fold them? Now, how do you learn how to make sure that you don't take a dumb shot and still win money? But then the horsemanship side of it, now that you're getting after, because you got the hard part too, is you also got the discipline, you got the mental game. Now that I think the more that, and that's just experience, and you're going to be so well rounded, you're going to be able to stay out here as long as you want. So,
well, thanks.
That's a cool future to know, because you did that.
Mm-hmm. I was very, very blessed with, you know, the partners I've had that have taught me the things I've had, and it's stuff that I'm going to try to keep learning and keep improving on. But I've so great, like Matt Sherwood, he's a veteran. He's taught me a lot. Luke taught me a tremendous amount, all that stuff that I can use now the next 20, 30 years, whatever it is. I'm very grateful for that. And I know how lucky I was to get to do that. And it's going to be,
So going through the ranks that you've gone through and the stuff that you've learned, if you were to basically be Clay Cooper now, and you were able to help some other young kid that's wanting to be a superstar like you, what advice would you give him?
The main things that I would tell him is always be disciplined about doing the things you need to do to get where you want to go, and always make sure that you're good to people, because you never know who you're going to meet that might impact your life out a huge amount. And, always be aware of what the guys that are better than you are doing, and study that and try to use that to your advantage as far as getting better and seeing what, horsemanship wise, roping wise, or whatever field of, whether it's business or roping or, some other sport, those are the three things that I think have impacted my life the most as far as roping goes. And those are three things that I've learned from people and also, seen or used to help me in my career.
So after coming off that American win and winning $100,000, after coming off the NFR 3 months before that, how much did you win at the NFR?
162.
162. So now with this 100,000 that you just got a month or so ago, now what are you going to do with it?
I've invested already a little bit of it back into horses. The futurity deal and stuff being my retirement plan, as you will, or I've bought young horse and a rodeo prospect horse that's younger. And I don't like spending it on, when I was younger, I would spend it on a trailer or something like that, but I've kind of outgrew that stage. But I'm going to invest most of my money back into horses that I want to use to help me later on. I'm trying to plan for the future. Like we said earlier, I think if I always have a good horse, I'll always have a job. So
couldn't agree more.
That's where I'm putting all my chips.
Yours is going into assets.
That's right.
Guys still got to have a rig. That's what, you read a lot of that stuff. Like, well, you don't have to have that. Well, you do have to have a reliable rig. You have to have something that you can pull your horses with, and it helps you have something you can sleep and shower in, because no one wants to stink.
Yep.
But it is important to have those assets.
Absolutely.
You got to have those horses, because if you got the good horses and you're up good, you're always going to have a job. Yep. I agree with that.
And I'll use some of the money for, I've done some fencing and stuff around the place for my horse pens and stuff to improve them and make them better, but it's still all going back towards the horse, taking care of the horse. But that keeps making money. That's where my passion is outside of competing, is the horses. So
awesome. Well, man, thank you for coming on. I appreciate it. It was great. Thanks, it was great. It was great fun. It was a lot of fun to sit and talk team roping with you. And
it was fun.
I've been a huge fan of you for a long time, and it's been fun following you on social media. Golly, you guys, it looks good from Houston to San Antonio to Tucson. Everywhere you guys have been going with a short score, long score, it all looks good. I'm excited to watch you guys this year.
Thank you. I hope we can keep it going.
You will. You will. How do we follow you?
So Hunter Cook 355 on Instagram. Cook is spelled Koch. That's the only hiccup there. But and then my Facebook page is just Hunter Cook Koch. So follow me on those two platforms. And my wife, she's good about listing the dates of where we're up at and where we're going. And I try to post all our runs we make, so that'll all be on there.
The good thing is now that when you guys do that schedule, where then a guy can watch the Cowboy Channel and keep up when knowing when you guys are up. The schedule's tough though, because like we was talking with Thorpe, it's hard because the trades go on, and it's hard to get a schedule out, especially too far ahead of time, because a lot of times we don't even know when we're up for a short amount of time, and then trading along there, and so it's hard to come up with that schedule. But I love what the Cowboy Channel is doing, where a guy can follow.
That's been great. Yeah. It's been great for the industry.
Yeah, I agree. Man, do good this year, and I can't wait to watch the NFR this year.
Thanks, Chuck. I appreciate it.